Hey guys, welcome to my video. Thank you very much for checking it out. I really appreciate it. Just want to give a huge thank you to these guys though, because they are the absolute best for supporting me on Patreon. I wouldn't be able to do what I do without you, so thank you so much. It means the world to me. If you want to check out my Patreon, link is in the description. If not, that's fine too. Other than that, enjoy the video. Has fucking Blue Dragon. Hello, welcome to this. So chances are you've probably seen this image floating around on the internet, and members of the furry fandom have been referring to it as multiple things, my personal favourite being Granddaddy Fursuit. But they've also been referred to as the first furry or the first fursuit, and I wanted to find out if that was actually the case, and while I was at it, I also wanted to find out where our current modern day fursuits, the ones we use all the time, I wanted to find out where those ones actually came from. Quickly before I get into the video though, I want to say a huge thank you to Majira for actually giving me the idea to film this video, like, over a year ago. And also a huge thank you to Electrolinks on Twitter for accidentally inspiring me to finally film this. Thank you both. You're great. Also, during my research, I found fantastic information from FursuitReview.com, Dogpatch Press, Wikipedia, the FurriesInMotion YouTube channel, and the Culturally Effed YouTube channel. Culturally Effed actually did a really similar video to this. It was really similar though, so I didn't actually watch it because I didn't want to risk just regurgitating it in my video. So if you want to check that out, check out the link in the description, because I did watch like 30 seconds and it seemed really damn good. And of course, links to everyone else I just mentioned will be in the description below. Thank you to everyone who I referenced or who inspired this video. Let's get on with it. So as I said before, I'm sure you've seen this picture. If not, now you have. You're very welcome. But this man, this dog, this fluffy boy, who is he? Where did he come from? What's he doing? What does he want? I can answer some of those questions for you, and I'm going to. I'm so great at introducing videos. Now, as cool as it would be, this isn't actually a furry or even a fursuiter. I mean, as far as we know, there are lots of closeted furries, but this is actually an actor in what was then known as a skin suit. What the fuck's a skin suit? I'm getting there, okay, shush. A lot of early fursuits were actually used by actors in plays and performances. Back in the Edwardian era, this was known as a skin role or a skin part. The actors themselves were referred to as animal performers, animal actors, or animal impersonators, and the fursuits were called skin suits, or simply just skins. This was probably due to the fact that they were actually made out of real fur, which sucks, but it's kind of what they had to do because synthetic fur or fake fur wasn't commercially available until 1929. In later years, these costumes were referred to as panto animals, but I'll get more into that name later. So why did they even exist? Like, what was the point? Why not just use animals? Actors in skin suits were used to replace real animals when the real animal would either limit the possibilities or simply weren't possible at all. Plus, actors tend not to shit all over the stage, which is a bonus. Replacing real animals with actors became very common practice in pantomimes, a type of theatre popular in the UK, which are generally musical retellings of children's stories in a comedic fashion aimed to entertain all ages. And these stories generally have animal characters in them that are required to do something beyond what an animal would normally do in order to enhance that comedic value. So it just made a lot more sense for them to have people do that rather than try and trick an animal into doing 7 backflips, which is where the name panto animal came from. However, the first known use of animal costumes in theatre is actually way older than that, dating back to the ancient Greeks who used to use fur-like costumes to recreate centaurs or asses in their plays. Asses as in, like, donkeys, not big anuses. Fuck, I'm 12. These costumes were designed for just one actor and were very similar to the ones used in the Edwardian era, the pictures that are floating around on the internet. However, the range of animals greatly increased in the Edwardian era, going from anything from cats and dogs to horses and cows. And even when playing something like a horse or a cow, the costume would still only contain one person. The commonly seen 2-person variant wasn't introduced until later in the 19th century, and is still used today as a comedy gag, because it's hilarious to be stuck sniffing someone else's butt. Apparently animal performing was a highly sought after skill because there were few and far between good ones due to the complexity and the challenges the job presented. Some of the more well-known animal impersonators from the Edwardian era include Fred Conquest, the man who's actually behind the main picture that's been floating around, and he was born into a family of other animal actors, including his brother Arthur Conquest and father George Conquest. We also have Fred Whitaker and Charles Lowry. I probably butchered his name, but I don't hear him complaining about it. There were way more of them, but this was just a few of the more recorded, documented, and photographed that we still hear about today. I'm gonna make a separate video about them on Amino, so if you want to see that, you should check out my Amino. Link's in the description if I can figure out how to link it. If not, search what's flashing on the screen. I don't know, I'll figure it out eventually, but go check it out. Yee! So, while early fursuits were pretty much just a tool for work and performance, much like how mascot costumes are used today, eventually a very strange subculture emerged. Can you guess who it is? Furries! However, while furries are massive fans of fursuits today, that's not really how we started. It's not like we saw these pictures of the Edwardian suits, went, oh shit, that's awesome, and then made our own. In fact, I'm assuming when the fandom started, most of the people in the fandom hadn't seen these suits, because the only reason we've seen them is because of the internet. At the time, most furries were simply fans of existing anthropomorphic characters they'd seen on TV, in comics, and cartoons. Maybe one or two of them had gone to a panto, seen the strange dog man in the corner, and thought, I want to be that. Maybe, it's a possibility, but the majority of the fandom wasn't actually focused on fursuiting at all. In fact, there was barely any character creation. As I said, it was mostly about existing characters, and it was mostly just art. It took a while for fursuits to actually appear in the fandom. Eventually, as the fandom grew, hobbyists began to not only make art, but also began to make their own costumes. However, again, they weren't really their own characters, it was existing characters. Things like Jessica Rabbit, Bugs Bunny. Why can I only list bunnies? Point is, most suits were simply a recreation of existing characters, a trend that dramatically shifted as today the main component of the furry fandom is being creative with your own characters. Apparently there was one fursuit at the very first furry convention, which was called Conference Zero, and it was held in California in 1989 and had 90 attendees, and just one of them had a suit. And I think that's because fursuits were not widely known until the mid-1990s, which is mostly due to the internet. Thank you, internet. In fact, they weren't even called fursuits until 1993, when Robert King, the founder of Midwest Fur Fest, started a mailing list which were just photos of fursuits, so he came up with the name Fursuit Mailing List, and it actually ran until 1999. So thanks for that name. It's a good one. Thanks. Then, in 1997, the media actually covered Conference 8 in a TV news segment. This was the first time furries had ever really been shown off to the world, as well as fursuits, which obviously caused quite a lot of confusion, but also brought in some new people into the fandom. Honestly though, if I'd seen that at the time, I would have been part of the confusion. The fandom just continued to expand with new members, and in the mid-2000s, that's when suit makers were actually able to make a living out of what they were doing because the demand for custom fursuits was constantly increasing. Now, the fursuit industry actually makes millions of dollars a year, including the sales of pre-owned suits, and some makers have even been going into making suits for companies, performances, and sports teams. Which is quite funny because fursuits started out as a professional tool, and then hobbyists got a hold of it, and then the hobbyists became professionals, and then they started selling back to the original professionals. So, cool. But, to wrap it up, is this a picture of a fursuiter? No, not really. I mean, technically if that suit was around today, you could wear it at a convention and fit in to some degree, and it is an animal costume, which is what fursuits really are. But personally, I think fursuits are something different. I think they're a bit more, because they're created custom, they're created for that individual person, no two are alike usually, and they're not really just a costume that's just made to be thrown around and anyone can jump in it. Yes, they are a costume that can be thrown around and anyone can jump in it, but that's not what they're for. I think saying that a fursuit is the same as this thing here is like running into Disneyland, pointing at Goofy and going, wow, sick fursuit, mate. Technically they're the same, but also I don't really think they are. What do you think? Would you say this guy's a fursuiter? Would you say this is a fursuit? Or would you say he's just an actor with a really cool job and a really cool costume? Let me know in the comments below. Do it. But thank you for watching this video, guys. It was something. It took more time than I expected, but I don't mind. It was good fun. If you want to see something else next week, make sure to subscribe. That's right, I'm actually sticking to a weekly schedule. And if you want to see something else from me, maybe you could subscribe to my main channel. Because I have a main channel. It's main. I post videos there too. Go subscribe. Anyway, that's it for this video, guys. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. But until then, fuck off.